पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायण स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराण मुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतमृतवर्षिणी भगवती अष्टादशाध्यायिनी आमुत्वामनुसन्धामे भगवत गीते भवद्वेषिणी नमो अस्तु ते व्यास विशाल बुद्धे फुल अरविंद आयत पत्र नेत्र येन तव्या भारत तैल पूर्णः प्रज्वलितो ज्ञान में प्रदीपः परपन्न पारिजाताय तोत्र वेत्र एकपानये ज्ञान मुद्राय कृष्णाय गीता अमृत दुहे नमः सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोगदा गोपाल नंदना पार्थो वत्सा सुधीर भोगता दुग्धम गीता अमृतम महत् वसुदेव सुतम देवम कंस चानूरमर्दनम देवकी परमानंदम कृष्णम वंदे जगत गुरुम भीष्म द्रोण तटा जयद्रथ जला गांधार नीलोत्पला शल्य ग्राहवती कृपेन वहने कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थाम विकर्ण घोर मकरा दुर्योधन अवर्तने सोतीर्णा खलु पांडवै रन्नदी कवर्तका केशवा पाराशरे वत्सरो जमलम गीता अर्थगंधोटकम नानाख्यानक केसरम हरि कथा संबोधन अबोधितम लोके सज्जन षटपदे रह पेपिये मानम मुदा भूयाद भारत पंकजम कलिमल प्रध्वंसी न श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुम लंघ्यते गिरिम यत्कृपातमं वन्दे परमानंद माधवम यम ब्रह्म वरुण इंद्र रुद्र मरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्ये स्तवे वेदै सांपद क्रमोपनिषदे गायन्ति यम सामगा ध्यानवस्थित गद्गतेन मनसः पश्यन्ति यम योगिनो यस्यन्तं न विदुसुर असुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः. We are on chapter 14, Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga. So this is the chapter where Lord Krishna is going in detail about these three gunas. Okay, three qualities of nature, prakriti. Okay, and we finished first 10 verses and we ended the class with 11th verse. So any question before we start the class? So let's just, I know we started this 11th, so let's just look at the Sanskrit part and then I'll explain a little bit more. Sarv dwareshu dehe asmin prakash upjayate jnanam yada tada vidyat vivridham sattvam iti ut. When through every gate in this body, and gate you all know that means the apertures in this body, those are the gates, the light of intelligence shines, then it may be known that sattva is predominant. Okay, so we should live a sattvic life. How do we know we are sattvic or not? So he says predominantly you are sattvic if there is a light of intelligence is showing from these apertures. So two ways you can look at it. Eyes want to see good things, the holy things, the divine things. They are attracted towards that. And hands want to help others. Ear wants to hear God's name and mouth wants to say God's name. And another way look into it. When we go beyond rajas and tamas, because over here in this verse he's talking about sattva, so that means a personality has gone beyond rajas and tamas. our heart is full of sattva, we'll see that a more capacity to observe, to analyze, to understand, and to become aware of the world the right way. We will dissect everything properly. We won't judge it with the color of our Rajsikta and Tamsikta, because Satvikta means purity, clarity. So we'll be more clear about the ideas. We'll be more clear about what to do, what not to do. We will come to the conclusions much easily. There won't be much wavering. There won't be doubts if there is a Satvikta in us. So that's what he is telling us over here. Prakash upjayate. Okay, the light. It's not that there's a light is shining through our eyes and the ears. It's more like a more clarity, because in light we can see things clearly. There's no doubt about it. So mechanism of knowing the world outside is the intellect. So intellect is sharper when we are sattvic. Okay? And whatever is reflecting back, we can see it the way it is. So the gunas are the influences under which the mind and intellect live. So gunas are not just only about the food. Gunas are about the mind and the intellect more. That's why we all know a clean and steady reflecting medium will reflect more efficiently than the unsteady, unclear surface. So unsteady will be Rajsik, and unclean will be Tamsik, and clean will be Sattvic. Okay? So that's why you often hear the statements about God also. A Sattvic mind, predominantly a Sattvic mind, that kind of a person will say that I have received so much from this world. I have received so much from my Guru, from God. His grace is on me. I should endeavor to progress rapidly in my sadhana. Clarity is there. Gotten so much, I got to do my part. Clarity is there. On the other hand, Rajasic mind will say, sure, I must progress on this spiritual path, but what is the hurry? My responsibilities are more important. See, Sattvic mind will say, I must hurry. This is my duty to hurry and move towards the ultimate goal. Rajasic mind will say, what is the hurry? I have so much to do in this world. And what will the Tamasic mind say? I'm not sure if there's any God or not. Nobody has seen it. So why waste time in sadhana? So this is the mind and the intellect which is thinking and deciding like that. And that's what Lord Krishna is telling us, that light is shining through the predominantly sattvic mind. Okay? Then in the next verse he says, Lobha pravriti arambha karam nam ashmaha sapriha raja etani jayante vivridhe bharat rishabh. So this is a Rajasic mind. Lobh is greed. Pravriti, activity. Arambha, the undertaking. Karma naam of actions, ashama, restlessness. See, sham is restful, calmness. Asham is restless, opposite of that. Sapriha, longing. Raja, the Rajsik, etani, those. Jayante, arise. Vivridhe, having become predominant. Bharat Rishabh, that is for Arjun, the best of the Bharats. Greed, activity, undertaking of actions, restlessness, longing, these arise when Rajas is predominant. Or best in the Bharat's family. Okay, so he's talking to Arjun and he's using that Bharat Rishabh for Arjun. So greed, activity, undertaking of action, restlessness, longing. When we see these in us, that means there is a Rajsikta is taking over. Greed, what is greed? Because these are the list of the qualities he is mentioning about Rajsik person. Greed, we got to look at it. What is greed? Greed is the inexhaustible desire to appropriate the property of another. Somebody else has it, I want it too. So it's almost like an appetite which has the tendency of growing more in volume as we satisfy it. You had certain aim, you achieved it, but the minute you saw somebody else having more, you wanted that too. Just like that common saying, a person was fully satisfied with the millions until he met a billionaire. Never enough. That is greed. And what is activity? Activity is engaging ourselves in matters which are not our own. It's not even of our own duty. We have nothing to do with it. We just get involved in other people's activities. That's activity. Unnecessarily getting involved in the activities. Undertaking of actions, arambha. Whenever we start any activity which is motivated by extreme egoism and undertaken with the intention to fulfill and satisfy the egocentric, selfish desires. I have done it. It's my game. When I and my becomes so big, that's what he means by arambha. He's not saying don't do your duties, but don't bring I and mine into it. Then it becomes Rajsik. Restlessness, that is another type of experience that is lived through Rajsik personality. Because a restless mind fails to enjoy the quietude. Everything is going fine. It's a happy time also. Weather is fine. Relationships are fine, but still there is a restlessness inside the mind. That's Rajsikta. And normally restlessness is when we worry about the future. What if? That's Rajsik. There's no problem. Everything is going fine, but still in mind keep on wondering and worrying. That's a Rajsik nature. So to a large extent, these are all interconnected. Each successive one can be seen to have risen from the previous tendency. If there was no greed, then you would get unnecessarily involved in somebody else's activities. Greed is the one which brings you there. And that's how the arrogance rises up, and that's where the restlessness comes to. Okay. So greed must make the greedy very active. Right? If a person is greedy, will be very active. I want to have more. I want to buy new business. I want to progress. So greed. And extremely greedy person will not mind doing selfish activities. And in his anxiety for the results, there is a mental anxiety, mental agitation. So that's why I said they're all related, interconnected. And he experiences extreme unrest. Okay. So in summary, you can see that under the influence of Rajas, a person gets extremely persecuted by its own restlessness, which will be expressed in endless plans, exhausting actions, agonizing desires, painful longings, maddening greed, and oppressive restlessness. So whenever all of these tendencies we see growing in us, that means there's a Rajsikta coming up. Those are the symptoms. See, just like there is a symptom. These days they tell us, if your throat is hurting, if you're losing the taste in your mouth, if you're feeling weakness, if you have a headache, be careful. Watch for that COVID, symptoms for COVID. So these are the symptoms of Rajsikta. No excuse that everybody else is restless. Everybody else is doing it. Everybody else is greedy. If everybody else has COVID, that doesn't mean we got to have that disease too. We got to protect ourselves. So this Rajsikta is a disease. Okay? And when this kind of a person works in the society, his sorrows do not rest only within himself or herself. It's almost contagious. Other people feel that too. The family will, the friends will, the co-workers will. It does have the effect on the society. To me, I think it's contagious, highly contagious. So if Rajsikta we don't like, let's look at what Tamsikta is. Because after looking at Satvikta, big contrast between a Satvik nature and a Rajsik nature. What is a Tamsik nature then? Exactly what are the symptoms? Aprakashaha, apravriti cha, parmadaha, moha, evacha. Tamsi etani jayante, vivridhe kuru nandan. Aprakasha. See, Satvik was Prakash. This is Aprakash. Darkness, ignorance. That's Aprakash. Apravriti, inertness, inactivity. See, Rajsik is activity. This is inactivity. Parmadaha, carelessness. Moh, delusion. Ev means even, cha means and. Tamsi, tamsikta, etani, these, jayante, arises. We vridhe have become predominant. Kuru Nandan, descendant of Kurus. So darkness, inertness, carelessness, and delusion. These arise when tamas is predominant. O descendant of Kuru. It's a Kuru dynasty. So we got to recognize our state of mind based upon these symptoms. We got to see what are we suffering with. So first one he said, Aprakash. Aprakash is for the intellect. The intellect, when it is capable of arriving at any decision, it's kind of a sort of a drowsiness in the intellect. Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I go there? So no clarity. That is Aprakash. So Sattvic person can decide fast and correctly also. Tamasic person cannot decide. Cannot discriminate between the right and the wrong. So this condition is experienced every day by a lot of people. It's almost like when sleep takes over us. Can we decide anything? Too sleepy. Darkness. Then apravriti, inaction. When a person is escaping the responsibilities, the sense of incapacity to undertake any endeavor, and the lack of enthusiasm to strive for and achieve anything in life, that is a state of inaction. Doesn't want to do anything. Somebody else should pay for my bills. Being dependent on somebody, that is tamsikta. Okay. We should always try to do things ourselves. That's where Guruji, our Guruji, he made this policy for this ashram. Ashram in India also, or all the ashrams also. Don't be dependent. Don't think that from the ashrams earning you should feed yourself. You should have your own source of income to pay your own bills. Ashram income is separate for the ashram. Personal is your own personal. Okay, so no dependency, because as soon as we depend on somebody, something else, we are moving towards the tamsikta. And yoga is about moving towards the sattvika and ultimately going beyond sattvik too. Okay. And the next one he says carelessness. Careless, heedlessness. When tamas predominates, all ambitions are sapped, energy is dormant, capacity is gone. What happens is eating and sleeping alone become a person's occupation in life. That's all. That's a tamasic nature. So he becomes careless of the higher calls within himself. Tamasic person. So slowly what happens, a person sinks into the delusion, moha. That is the next connection, the link. So he miscalculates the world around him, misinterprets his own possibilities, always making mistakes in determining his relationship with the world around him. Life becomes an error. Very existence becomes a sad mistake. What good is this life? It's no good. Nobody's good. It's everybody else's fault. Tamasic person will point the finger towards other people. Other person or the stars or even to God. Never taking the responsibility. Tamsikta. So according to the Hindu philosophy, after death, a person will still be pursuing the resultant of his or her thoughts, because predominantly if this was a sattvic thought, after life also that will continue. So that's why Lord Krishna is going to give us a little plan what will happen in the future if you are predominantly sattvic or if you are predominantly rajasic. So not just only this lifetime. So right now he told us a sattvic person will be a happy person, restful person, peaceful person. Rajasic person won't be very agitated, and tamasic person will be a sad person, deluded person. So while living, but even after we leave this body, because the subtle body goes with us. So that's why I said the resultant of this kind of a behavior, these kind of a thoughts will carry forward also. So that's even more of a reason that we got to work on these gunas right now. And it's very normal for the mind to fluctuate between these three gunas. Throughout the day, we see that sometimes we are predominantly sattvic. Sitting on our meditation seat, we feel very sattvic. When we are reading something, very sattvic. When we go to work, there will be a little rajsikta. And then when we are going to sleep, or when we are very tired, can't even move, we become tamasic. But over here, we are looking at it, not the fluctuations. We are looking at it predominantly all day long in 24 hours. What was our state of mind? So predominantly. So we should understand this very well. See, that's why we need to do the sadhana. If our mind could stay sattvic all the time, by learning it once, then what is the use of the sadhana? Sadhana really means it's fluctuating, and I want to make my best so that my mind stays sattvic predominantly. That's what sadhana is about. Keeping the body healthy, eating right, reading the right books, being in the right kind of a company where I get the inspiring ideas. That is a sadhana. All day long we are doing the sadhana, watching the right kind of a show on the TV. If something is creating agitation or darkness or carelessness or making me stupid, stay away from that. That power we always have, that freedom we always have. Okay, so sadhana, that's what sadhana is, because a lot of time we think sadhana is just doing some yoga asanas. Yoga asana is for the body. But rest of the day, our mind and intellect, our ego is functioning. We got to make sure we are doing the sattvic way of life. So now number 14. Yada sattve pravridhetu pralyam yati debhrit tada uttam vidam lokan amlan pratipadyate. Yada means when, sattve in sattva, pravridhe having become predominant. Tu means verily, pralyam death. Yati meets with debhrit, embodied one. Tada means then, uttam vidam, of the knowers of the highest. Lokan, to the worlds. Amlan, of the spotless. Pratipadyate, attains. If the embodied one meets with the death, when sattva is predominant, then he attains to the spotless worlds of the knowers of the highest. Amlan, that is the key word over here. See, mal means any kind of a flaw. Flaw really means the rajsikta or the tamsikta. So amlan, the clean. So predominantly at the time of the death, if we are sattvic, we will raise ourselves to the highest. So if the embodied one meets with the death, when Sattva is predominant, then he attains to the spotless worlds of the knower of the highest. So you'll be upgraded. It could be in this world, in that kind of a family, in that kind of atmosphere, or it could be another world where there's no mal. Because as a human being, we have studied Vivek Chudamani. Over there, Shankaracharya ji says that human body is a bag of filth. Bones, blood, and a lot of other filth also. It's a bag of filth. But there are other worlds where body is not like that. No filth in the body. Those are the divine bodies. So if there is a predominantly, we have a Satvikta, we can be angels. We can be Devatas. That's what he means over here. A Malan. But it's all dependent upon predominantly where our mind is. What kind of a thoughts are we are keeping in our mind. Okay, so there's a continuity of thought life in this embodiment. This year's thoughts have a continuity with our last year's thoughts. Today's thoughts, there's a continuation from yesterday's thoughts. Or this week's thoughts, continuation from the last week's thoughts. So the same way, next life's thoughts, continuation of this life's thoughts. So continuity is mentioned over here. So every moment in an extension of the previous moment's thoughts. And only thing we can change is right now. Right now. Learn from the past, but change can happen only right now. So more sattvic and sattvic thoughts. So at the time of death, this continuity remains. It doesn't end there. Body ends, physical body does, but the subtle body and the causal body continues. So death is only another experience. That's all. It's a changing of the clothes. So if the sattva is predominant, then he attains the spotless regions of the knowers of the highest. That's what he's telling us. You can call it a Devlok, Brahmalok, or a better life over here also. So whatever, wherever, according to our karmas, according to our thoughts. So, but the bottom line is the direction in which the embodied one will make its flight is determined by the type of training it had acquired during its journey right now. So training we are giving. So that's why often it's said that we get what we deserve, and that is God's law. And that is a law of karma. It's not a theory. It's not a philosophy. It's a law. It's a law of gravity. So this is a law also, law of karma. So the soul can climb upward in its spiritual evolution, remain at the same level or even slide down based upon the intensity and frequency of the gunas it adopts. Yeah. Then rajas. So that was a sattva. So if predominantly sattva, we move up. Rajasi pralyam gatvaha karam sangishu jayate tatha pralina tamsi mudyo neshu jayate. So in this verse, he is mentioning that the outcome of the Rajasic mind and outcome of the Tamasic also. Rajasi, in Rajas, pralyam, death, gatva, meeting, karam sanghishu, among those attached to actions. Jayate means is born. Second line, tatha means so. Pralina, dying. Tamsi, inertia. In tamsikta. Mood, yonishu. In the wombs of the senseless. Jayate is born. Meeting death in Rajas. He is born among those attached to actions. And dying in Tamas, he is born in the womb of the senseless. Mood yoni. What is a mood yoni? It could be a plant, it could be animal also. Those are mood yoni. Or if it's a human body, according to certain karmas, human body, but not very bright person. So dull intellect, cannot comprehend properly, cannot understand the meaning of life. Okay. So but in these two verses is basically telling us at the time of the death. Some people might say that, okay, all right, I'm going to just become very sattvic when I die. Right before that, I'll start reading Gita. Or I'll start doing good actions. We don't know when we're going to die. Nobody knows. At the time of the death, we don't. So predominantly, whatever we have been doing in our life, that's what we'll be doing at the end also. I'm talking about the thoughts. If we are very attached to the actions, very attached to the people, very attached to our wealth, that's what we'll be thinking about. And that's where we'll go. If you've been just connected with God, doing selfless service, because selfless service will make us think about the God. Those are the means to connect with God, because ultimate is connection with the God. If that is there, then of course we'll go to sattvic places. Okay? So that's what he's saying. The mind will seek and successfully discover a field where it can completely exhaust its existing tendencies. Right now the tendencies are Rajasic, journey will be, the future place will be Rajasic place. If tendencies are Tamasic, then next stop will be in a Tamasic place to exhaust those tendencies. So tamas, lower realms of irrational beings. Okay, because there are certain people, they say once you are a human being, you'll always stay human being. Lord Krishna or Vedas, they don't say that at all. According to our karmas, we can go back or we can go forward. Hardly anybody stays at the same position, either going up or going down. So having been born as a rational beings, because right now we consider ourselves rational beings, we got to see that how many of our decisions we take by using that rational mind with a full discrimination, full discernment. Are we doing it or not? Are we keeping our mind restful? Are we using the resources which have been given to us? Because who is the owner of it? God is. He gave it to us. Are we using it just for ourselves, or are we sharing it with others also? That's how we should look at. And in the next verse, Lord Krishna is giving us a summary of what has been taught in these few verses. So that means it's so important. First, he gives it to us separately, what the symptoms are. When based upon the symptoms, what will happen in the future, then again he's summarizing for us. So that means it's extremely important for us. Otherwise, why would he add another verse right over here? Karmanaha sukritasya ahu satvikam nirmalam phalam rajasa tu phalam dukham agyanam tamsa phalam. Karmana of actions, sukritasya of good. Ahu. Ahu means they say. So Lord Krishna is saying, they say, that means those yogis, those ancient seers, they also say the same thing. Satvikam, satvik, nirmalam, pure, phalam, fruit, rajasa of rajas, tu means verily, phalam the fruit, dukham pain, agyanam ignorance, tamsaha of inertia, tamsika phalam the fruit. The fruit of good action, they say, is sattvic and pure. Good action. We all know what is good, what is not good. There's no doubt about it. Verily, the fruit of rajas is pain, and the fruit of tamas is ignorance. So it's a summary of what he has been telling us in previous verses. If we carefully analyze this, he is telling us that thought is the father of all actions. Thought. Thoughts are the seeds sown, and actions the harvest gathered. Seeds of weeds cannot produce but weeds. Bad thoughts can manifest only as bad actions and then bad fruits. So that's why he said, the good actions, the fruit is good too. When we look at Satvikta in us, sure we measure Satvikta with purity, we measure it with virtue, with the knowledge, and with selflessness. Okay, we are all familiar with this. Purity, virtue, knowledge, and selflessness. That's why a person having these qualities, the actions performed by the sattvic person will be relatively pure intention. And the results are satisfying and uplifting. You can analyze this. Your own actions in the last week which you did or last month you did, sattvic actions made you feel uplifting. It was very satisfying. And if the actions were influenced by rajas, there was agitation. Agitation by the desires of the senses and the mind. And behind their action is primarily sense gratification. For himself or herself, not a selflessness, doing it for yourself only. It could be myself or my dependents. When we do things for our dependents, that's also rajasic. Don't think that it's a sattvic action. Because we are supposed to take care of our dependents. But sense gratification, that is like a motive behind the actions, that makes it rajasic. And then those who are predominated by tamas, they have no respect for scriptural injunctions or codes of conduct. They will commit sinful deeds to relish perverse pleasures, which further give them delusion. Okay, that's what he's telling us over here in this verse. Somebody has a question?
Yes, Sonia, if you can unmute yourself. Hi, Hersh. Good morning.
Sonia, can it wait? Just let me
Yeah,
finish this one,
that,
and
that's
then
why I was going to say I will hold my question to the end. So no
yeah,
worries. Yeah,
yeah, just a couple of more minutes. Let me finish this verse, then we'll have discussion.
no, that's okay. I can hold it to the end. No problem.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, all right. So basically, what he's telling us, if sattvic action, sattvic thoughts, you'll do the sattvic action, and then there's a purity in your life. Rajsikta, ultimately there will be pain. You are doing it for sense gratification, and senses can never be gratified fully. You like to eat sweets, you keep on eating, keep on eating. Ultimately, that sweet starts to, you want to throw up with that much sweet. Can never satisfy. Satisfaction happens only with the wisdom. And tamasic, that is full of ignorance anyway, the darkness, where you end up hurting yourself and hurting others also. So when the noble action is undertaken, soon it becomes a habit. That is the effect of the sattvikta. Because nobility is there, the motive behind your action is to help others, then it becomes a habit. And this external habit creates a discipline. Discipline of your actions also, discipline of your words also, discipline of your mind also. That's why from very childhood, our parents told us, speak the truth. Don't hurt anybody. Help somebody. Help somebody. If you see something fallen on the road, pick it up. You remember in a childhood, they used to show us the stories. Somebody fell on the peel of a banana, broke the head. So if you see something, pick it up so that nobody gets hurt. That's a sattvic action. And the fruit of rajas is pain. Because when we have a rajasic personality, we just get so involved into the actions and we don't know when to stop. We overtire ourselves. We get so involved into the actions without thinking that, hey, am I supposed to do this or not? So it's like a striving to acquire, to possess, to keep, to spend, to enjoy, to save. And slowly the person is dragged into very suffocating life. That is the effect of Rajsikta. And the Tamasic person, with the Tamsikta, our discrimination is veiled, capacity to know the difference between a right and wrong, or to judge the world outside, we really don't have that capacity when the Tamsikta prevails. So that's why he says Rajas breeds agitation in the mind, and Sattva is that condition within us when the mind has a least thought agitations. Intellect is clear, mind is calm, brightness is there, rationality is there, discrimination is there with the Sattvika. So Sattva is the condition of dynamic calmness. A person is very dynamic, but mind is very calm. That's where Lord Krishna says, Yogaha karmasu kaushalam. Doing the actions skillfully, but mind is calm. So that is like a creative moment in our inward nature. So we'll stop it here because I'm sure you have questions. So, but he doesn't stop talking about these three gunas right here. You'll see that further analysis, further explanation of these three gunas even more. So let me just stop it here and entertain your questions. I think Sonia had a question first.
Sonia, unmute yourself.
Namaste, Hershji. Namaste, everyone.
Namaste, Sonia.
So the question was, I think it was a verse 12 or 13, something like that.
Okay.
And I know you have mentioned it multiple times. Maybe I might have forgotten about it. You said there are 3 forms of body.
Yes.
There's physical body, subtle body, and the causal body.
Yes.
I understand, of course, the physical body, and I also understand the subtle. What is the causal one?
Causal body is a technical name for causal body is avidya or ignorance, and it's like the layer of that personality where we have very, very extremely subtle vasanas. Okay. Vasanas. And vasanas are what? Those deep desires which we have.
Okay.
And why do we have those deep desires? Because we forgot who we are. So that's called a causal body.
Okay.
Look at that. Causal means, is also called a Karan Sharir. Causal means Karan. Karan means because of that we are born. And why we are born? Because of our own ignorance. We forgot who we are. And what is that ignorance? Attachment to something which we are not. And those are the vasanas. Those are the subtle tendencies.
Okay. So I know we talked about death and where they go and all that, right? So when you die, of course your physical body is gone, but what goes with you, with your soul, is really the subtle body and the causal body.
Exactly. The
Yeah?
subtle body, causal body goes and the prana goes too.
And the subtle body is basically the karma that you take with
The subtle body is your mind, your intellect, your ego.
you take that, right?
Your chit, yes, that is a Manu Buddhi Chit Ahankar. That's called a subtle body.
Okay.
In Hindi, it's called a Suksham Sharir. And causal body is called a Karan Sharir. Okay, so physical body is left behind, and that subtle and the causal goes, and then energy that which we call pran. Pran also follows the atma.
So when you do a rebirth, all these 3 things, pran, subtle body,
3
and causal body.
when you take body again, when you take birth again, based upon our karmas, we will get a body, and in that body, Atma is there, the soul is there, but that subtle and the causal body, the same subtle and the causal body comes in that new body, new physical body. Okay? So that's what this philosophy says.
Okay.
So whatever we are learning right now, polishing our intellect, deepening our understanding, this will go with us.
Get it. Okay.
Because sometimes don't you think that you read something, you say, gosh, I know this already. Where do you know from? You saw it first time in this lifetime. But the impressions are there. You recognize it. Or even some people you meet, the first time you see, you say, gosh, this is not the first time I'm meeting this person.
True.
Because you recognize
something, yeah.
Those deeper layers of the personality, okay?
Yeah.
Yes, Jyoti.
Jen has a question, Jen.
Hello, Hersh.
Yes, Jen. Hello.
So the causal body, I've been reading about the subtle body, Vijnanamaya, Manomaya, and Pranamaya. Is the causal body part of one of those or separate?
Okay, it all depends how deeply you understand the man. See, sometimes man word is used just for the mind itself, where the thoughts are. But sometimes man word is used which has a chit in it. So causal body is in the chitta. So deeper impressions embedded in there. Okay. So it all depends a person's understanding of one word. But remember
Okay.
that, yeah, it's like a deep, very, very deep part is the a causal body.
So if that was a kosha, is it a separate kosha, or does it just not matter? That's not the point.
No, in the koshas, if you want to look at it, it is, see, in the koshas, we have a anime kosh, praname kosh, manome kosh, vigyaname kosh, and then anandame kosh. Anandame
Yes.
kosh is the deepest. That's where that is.
Okay.
Got it?
Yes. Thank you, Hersh.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
very deep and it's very subtle. Subtler than the subtle is the causal body.
So Hershji, how do we know what is in our causal body? So if
Okay.
we want to purify that, how?
Yeah,
Sometimes we don't even know if it's that deep. We don't understand that, right?
First, we need to clean our outer mind, or even before outer mind, our outer life, this body, what we eat, what we think, what we read. Clean it from the outside. Then go in the meditation. During meditation, you really very advanced meditations, which is called samadhi. You see your causal body also. There are techniques to clean your causal body.
So
Rishi Patanjali in Yoga Sutras, he says, in one lifetime, you can clean it all and attain nirvana. That's why he gave the definition of yoga. Yoga is chitta vritti nirodha. In this chit is the one where all this is embedded. So he says you are supposed to clean it all up so that you get to know who you are. So Sonia, it's again the sadhana. Sadhana while doing our duties. Because outer duties we still have. We have a duty towards our family. We have a duty towards the nation. We have a duty towards our body. While doing all these duties, take out some time to do your sadhana. And more sattvic life we live, the more and more energy we'll have and understanding we'll have to do this sadhana. And this is why we are here in this beautiful human body. To clean this all up so that we can know who we are.
So I have another question, and I'm sorry I'm taking a little more time.
No, that's fine, Sonia. I'm sure other people have the similar questions too.
Yeah. So human life we get once in how many years or whatever they say, right?
Yeah.
So when we take rebirth as anything else, like a bird or a butterfly or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we don't have the opportunity to clean ourselves, right?
Yes.
Is that what they say?
Yes. See, other yonis or the wombs are called, see, this is like a karma yoni. Those are called bhog yonis.
Okay.
Okay. So they are basically extinguishing some of the karmas in those yonis. As a human being, we have the opportunity to change our path. That's why it said that human yoni, human species is it's rare also. It's a very important also. We have the freedom to go up or down. So that's why we got to live this life while keeping an eye on that. Okay.
So every living being has these three bodies, physical body.
Every living being, even plant has that too.
Okay.
Every living being has three bodies.
Yeah, that was a question also about plants.
Yeah, no, every living being has three, even a dog and a cat also, human beings also. It all depends how much we are aware of it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank
So
you.
they all have it. See, that's why the plant is plant, or the animal, they are called Jada Yoni. I mean, more so the plant, the Jada Yoni. Like they are not aware of their intellect.
Thank you, Hersh.
And if a human being also lives a life just eating, drinking, sleeping, just not much noble thoughts, noble pursuits, we'll call it a Jada person. Okay, we got to take the opportunity to use this higher level of intellect, this subtler mind of ours, beautiful body which has 10 senses. It's a great opportunity we have been given
Right. Mhm.
to move towards the right. Somebody else?
Thank you.
Rita? Rita, if you can unmute.
I have a question. They say you can go down because from your human being towards downward, like you can become cat, dog, or butterfly, whatever. Now, how can you come back again from that yoni to the human yoni?
Okay. Again, the karmas decide that. Your certain karmas decided to take that animal form. Then once that is extinguished, you'll come back to human. There have been many, many cases like that. They mention it in our scriptures.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like again, it's a law of karma. We got to just have a faith in this law, and then according to that law, we come back.
Is this the 84,000 yonis, Hershey? You know how they say there's a saying, right? 84,000 janam ke baad.
84 lakh. 84 lakh.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you
84
for
lakh.
that.
And that means like it has taken a long time for us to be able to come back as a human being. Let's not waste it.
Is that true? But is that how many lifetime it takes?
It's not exactly,
No.
you cannot really count it, and it could be different for different people. But
Okay.
basically, the idea behind is that it's a very precious birth.
Okay, that's what it means. Okay, got it.
That is the implication behind that 84 lakh.
That, okay, thank you. Mhm.
Anybody else?
हर्ष जी जैसे वो करते हैं कारण शरीर
English, Niru, English.
sorry the gross body and subtle body. What do we call the causal body? Is it come under the
Karan
subtle body?
Sharir. Karan Sharir.
Does it come under subtle body?
No, it is subtle than the subtlest than the subtle. So it is part of that. You can see that because it's in the chit. Okay, but the chit has many layers too.
Okay.
So causal body is the subtler than the subtle.
Subtlest. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
So it's like a sathul sharir, suksham sharir, and a karan sharir. Physical body, subtle body, and the causal body. Okay. So anybody else?
Thank you.
I was
Kim?
going to say, can I say one thing? Would you say that the causal body kind of blocks you from experiencing the Ananda in the Anandmaya Kosh? I mean,
Yeah.
until you get rid of it.
It doesn't, yeah. It's very subtle. It doesn't let you, it's almost like it blocks you. It's creating a wall for you.
Right. That's what I would put it as. Yeah.
Yeah, because you are ignorant about it. That's why the causal body is called ignorance. It's like in your deep sleep, physical body is sleeping, subtle body is sleeping. You do feel the happiness, the restfulness, but you really don't know yourself. That's why they say that a person who sleeps at night, intellect level is not going to go up by sleeping. If you are mood or stupid when you went to sleep, when you get up, you'll still be stupid. even though you got so close to that. So that's what the blockage is. But in samadhi, when you go into samadhi, you'll definitely come out of samadhi a notch up.
And when you use the word samadhi, it's more of meditation. Am I right?
It's a deeper meditation culminates into samadhi.
Right. It's a higher form of
Concentration
meditation.
culminates into meditation. Meditation culminates into samadhi.
So it's the beginning step of samadhi.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, Jyoti.
Oh, I think Kim had a question. Kim?
Sorry, I just lowered my hand, but
Yeah, I saw that. And then just as I was saying it.
okay, I'll just say what I wanted to say. Sonia had mentioned the saying about like how this human birth is very rare and precious, and yet our minds, you know, we don't. It's so hard to recognize that that we have a limited time here, that we have a very rare opportunity. We're sort of deluded in this kind of like sense of permanence that, you know, that, oh, we're not going to die. You know, we're not going to die now. We have plenty of time. We'll get another chance. And there's this kind of sense of complacency instead of a sense of urgency about the journey we have to take. So, I mean, originally I had raised my hand to, you know, ask you about that, Hershey, about, you know, how to, you know, that the mind is so seeped in that kind of delusion. So how to wake up.
So that's
right?
why Lord Krishna is telling us, keep your life sattvic. If our life is sattvic, food we eat is sattvic, the books we read is sattvic, the company we keep is sattvic, we'll know that how urgent it is. We'll have clarity. Okay? Only see, just like I told you earlier, only a tamasic person says, I don't see God. Who cares? Rajasic says, there's plenty of time. I'll take care of it later. But Sattvic says, no. I want to be fully alert. I want to be vigilant. I want to do my sadhana. I don't want to waste my time. Always remember death. Two things we should always remember. God and death. Always. Death means death of end of this physical life. It can happen anytime. And remember God also all the time.
Yes.
Instead of thinking about other things, remember these two things. So not out of fear, it's out of this alertness. This is important because Lord Krishna says again and again, whatever you remember at the end, that's where you'll go. Remembering death means, yeah, it can end any time. And I want to remember. I want to be ready. And I want to remember my beloved. God is my beloved. God is the only beloved. Only. Sometimes we think God is also a beloved. No, God is the only beloved. Rest are just temporary relationships. God is the only. So when we remember that, then we see the urgency. Okay? So this is the sadhana. Life becomes beautiful actually.
Yes.
Because when we say God is our beloved, there's no fear from God. There's a love for God only. Okay? And death, we know it's going to happen. Huh? We cannot avoid it. It will happen, so we should always be ready for it. That's why the yogis, they added that Shavasana in a daily practice. Several times we do that corpse pose in our yoga practice. When we meditate also, what are we trying to do? We are learning how to die. That's what meditation is. Meditation is not to control your blood pressure. Those are just some side benefits of that. Meditation is how to die. While living, how to die. That's meditation. Will you still do meditation, or are you going to stop?
Hershey, I have another question. Hershey, I have another question.
Yes,
I think in one of these verses only, I think it was the Rajasic one, where you explain passion associated with Rajsikta.
Yes.
Can you kindly explain a bit more when you say passion?
Passion means
just an example,
in this sense is passion in this sense. All you are doing is thinking about that action and the fruit of the action. That's a passion. What you'll get out of it? That's a passion. Okay, sattvic person does the action because it's my duty.
Doesn't think of the fruit.
Does not think about the fruit. But a passionate person thinks about the fruit.
So in daily life, that the term that we use, oh, she is so passionate and he is so passionate. How do you explain? Is it just the terminology that we are using in English, or is it really what we really mean?
No, it could be both. It also depends who's using it, but most of the people are Rajasic. Human beings predominantly are Rajasic. So when they say that passion is good, that's Rajsikta.
Rajsikta. That's exactly how I was thinking.
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify more.
Yeah. No, that's what it means.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So let's just have a small meditation kind of a Manny, if you can play some bhajan just for a couple of minutes, because we have already taken a lot of time and I'm sure you have a lot to do. Beautiful Sunday we have. So we'll end the class with some chanting.
Purnamida.
Yeah, okay. I'll do that. Okay. Manny, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, why don't you start and then at the end I'll say Purnamida. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for reminding me.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Krishna
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Visheshyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful Sunday afternoon, and thank you for coming. Thank you for the questions.
Thank you.